My name is Mason Turner. I'm 35, run a small but solid carpentry business, and I've worked every day of my life with my hands. Building staircases so elegant they'd make royalty blush. I build staircases for a living, strong, steady, meant to last a lifetime. I thought my marriage was the same, until the day my wife told me she was leaving for the weekend with another man. Not just any man, a smug, powerful millionaire who thought he could ruin me with one visit and a flash drive. What they didn't know was that I'd been preparing for this fight long before it began. You think you've heard stories of betrayal? Trust me, this one goes deeper. Because I didn't just survive. I made sure they both paid. I've done all right for myself. My company's small, but we get the big clients. Mansions, hotels, sleek office buildings. The kind of people who don't ask how much, just when it's done. I thought my life was steady. I had a wife, Dana Blake. Sharp as hell, a lawyer with ambition coming out of her pores. She was 28, climbing the ladder at some high-powered intellectual property firm in the city. We'd been married for years. No kids. She said she wasn't ready. Said she wanted to build her career first. I respected that. Hell, I admired it. Thought we were building something real. Then came that Thursday. It was around 4 p.m. I'd just wrapped a brutal day hauling tools for a client who couldn't decide what kind of staircase he wanted. Curved, floating, traditional, modern. Every 10 minutes, it was something new. But that indecision meant I unexpectedly had Friday off. A rare luxury. I pulled into the driveway, expecting an empty house. Thursdays were always Dana's late nights. She usually stayed at the office till 8, 9 o'clock. But her car was already parked out front. That was the first red flag. I figured maybe she wasn't feeling well. I grabbed my gear from the truck bed, let myself in through the back door like I always do, and headed upstairs after changing out of my work clothes. The water pressure felt weak, another odd detail. Someone was using the upstairs shower. Dana, I assumed. Still, it was strange. Dana wasn't a midday shower type. She was either a quick rinse in the morning or an end-of-the-day wind-down girl. So why now? When I got to the bedroom, my heart rate picked up for reasons I couldn't explain. There she was, standing in front of the mirror, fresh out of the shower. Her hair was damp. She was slipping into black fishnet stockings. A sleek black dress, one I'd never seen, was draped across the bed. I tried to play it cool. "Hey, hon," I said, leaning against the doorframe. "Did I forget about something tonight? We got plans I missed." She didn't smile. Didn't even look surprised to see me. She just sighed. "No, Mason. You didn't forget anything," she said, not even meeting my eyes. "I'm heading out tonight. Won't be back until Sunday afternoon. I'm spending the weekend with Preston Maddox." My brain short-circuited. "Hold on," I said, thinking I must have misheard. "Preston Maddox? That guy from your firm's holiday party? The one with the slick hair and the $2,000 shoes?" "Yeah," she said. "That's the one." I blinked. "Is this some kind of work thing?" "No," she said. Her voice was cold. Flat. "It's personal." The words hit me like a freight train. I couldn't even find the air to speak. She just kept going, like she was giving a weather report. "Preston got us a luxury suite upstate. We've got reservations at a spa, dinner reservations at places you couldn't pronounce. This weekend's about him." "You're kidding me," I said, finally, my mouth dry. "You're seriously ditching me to go sleep with some rich guy for the weekend?" Dana turned to me then, her eyes sharp as razors. "You'd better get used to it, Mason. This is how Preston wants things." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You expect me to sit around and wait while you shack up with another man? And then what? Just carry on like nothing happened come Monday?" A small smile curled on her lips. "I didn't say this was a one-time thing. Preston's hinted this might become regular. Life will be easier for you if you just go along with it." That was it. The fuse lit. "You've lost your damn mind," I said, my voice rising. "If you think I'm going to sit back and let some arrogant trust fund prick waltz into my house and treat me like I'm invisible, you're in for one hell of a wake-up call." She didn't even blink. Just kept putting on her earrings like I wasn't even in the room. Like I was background noise. I stormed downstairs, chest burning. I yanked open the fridge, grabbed a cold beer, and tried to calm my nerves. But before I could even take a sip, I heard it. The low, smooth growl of a luxury engine pulling up outside. I walked to the window. A black Mercedes. Preston Maddox had arrived. I couldn't believe it. The bastard had the audacity to come to my house. To pick up my wife. Like I was just some footnote in their twisted little love story. Dana floated down the stairs like she was walking a runway. She opened the door before he could even knock. "Sorry to keep you waiting, Preston," she said in a voice I hadn't heard her use with me in years. Light, flirty, warm. Seems my husband forgot how to be polite. He stepped in like he owned the place, smirking at me. "Heard you're not too thrilled about Dana spending the weekend with me," he said. I stared at him. My jaw clenched. "You've got 5 seconds to get the hell out of my house." He just laughed. "You're adorable," he said. "Let's see how the cops feel about it if you lay a finger on me." That was the moment I knew I had a choice. I could let my fists speak, or I could play the long game. And oh, did I choose the long game? Because Preston? He didn't know what I had hidden in the walls of this house. And he sure as hell didn't know who he was dealing with. I stood there, gripping the beer bottle so tightly I thought it might shatter in my hand. Preston Maddox didn't just walk into my home. He paraded in like he owned it. And Dana? She didn't flinch. She looked proud, like presenting her new toy to the man she discarded like a broken appliance. Preston took his sweet time, letting his eyes wander over my living room as if he were appraising property. He flashed that smug, slow grin that screamed superiority. Then, without asking, he stepped closer, planting himself only inches from me. "I hope you understand, Mason," he said, voice low, oily. "This arrangement, Dana and I, it's not personal." She simply upgraded. Every fiber in my body screamed to punch him, to wipe that arrogance right off his designer-suited face. But I didn't move. Not because I was afraid, because I had something better planned. I took a deep breath. "Say what you came to say, then get out." He chuckled, then gestured to Dana like I was a waiter who'd just interrupted their date. "Dana and I have plans, but I figured it was polite to give you a heads up before the weekend." I stepped aside, jaw tight. He started walking toward the door, then stopped and turned. "Oh, one more thing," he said, eyes glinting with malice. "Don't even think about interfering. You try calling her, guilt-tripping her, showing up at our hotel. Hell, even talking to my wife. And things will get very, very messy for you." I squinted. "You threatening me now?" He didn't answer. Instead, he glanced at my shirt pocket where my phone was tucked, then moved so fast I didn't have time to react. He reached out, snatched it, and before I could stop him, hurled it to the floor. The glass exploded on impact, shards scattering like a dropped mirror. "That was your first warning," he said, stepping closer. "The next won't be so gentle." Dana just stood at the base of the stairs, arms crossed, no remorse in her expression. She was complicit in all of it. My wife, my partner, watching me be humiliated by the man she planned to sleep with all weekend. "You're trespassing," I growled. "You've got 10 seconds before I call the police." Preston smiled like I'd told him a joke. "And say what? That a rich guy your wife invited over came by to pick her up? Good luck with that. Besides," he leaned in, "you ever hear about what happens when someone finds disturbing files on a guy's computer? Or if the IRS gets an anonymous tip about tax fraud? Takes just a couple clicks to ruin someone." He turned back toward Dana. "Let's go. We've got a dinner reservation." She didn't hesitate. She grabbed her overnight bag, already packed, and walked past me without a word. No apology, no guilt, just cold detachment. Like we hadn't shared for years. Like we were never anything real. The front door closed behind them. I stood there in stunned silence, staring at the cracked screen of my phone, breathing heavy. But then, I smiled. Because that wasn't my only phone. And Preston? He just gave me the best piece of evidence I could have hoped for. I walked straight to the closet under the stairs and opened the false panel I'd installed years ago after a break-in. Behind it sat a hardwired DVR connected to a network of hidden security cameras for inside the house, 2 out front and 2 out back. Audio and video, always rolling, always backed up to the cloud. It had caught everything. His threats, the destruction of my phone, the intimidation. All of it. I pulled out my personal phone, the one he didn't know existed, and dialed. The call rang twice before a familiar voice picked up. "Mason? What's going on?" "Grant," I said, exhaling. "I need you. Now." Grant Ellis is more than family. He married my sister Beatrice years ago, before we lost her in that accident down in Guadalupe. Even after she passed, he stuck around. Became my anchor in a storm. A damn good lawyer, too. I told him everything. Dana's betrayal, Preston's threats, the broken phone, the surveillance footage. He didn't ask questions. He just said, "We're on our way. Julie is grabbing food. Don't talk to anyone. Don't touch your computer. We'll be there in an hour. I hung up and sat at the kitchen table, heart pounding. Rage still burned in my gut, but it was focused now. Controlled. Preston thought I'd just roll over and accept this. He thought I'd break, act irrational, give him the reaction he wanted. But he didn't know me. He didn't know that the man he tried to bury was already building the shovel to dig his grave. And this time, I'd make damn sure Preston Maddox paid for every smug word, every threat, and every second he thought I was beneath him. The game had begun, and I was all in. When I say I didn't sleep that night, I don't mean I tossed and turned. I mean I sat upright at the dining room table, watching the live surveillance feeds like a general preparing for war. Every creak of the floorboards upstairs, every flicker of a street light through the curtains, I noticed it. Dana was gone, but the stench of her betrayal still hung thick in the air, like cigarette smoke that refused to fade. Exactly 1 hour after I called, Grant Ellis and his wife Julia showed up at my door. He didn't knock, just opened it with the spare key I'd given him years ago and walked in like a man ready to fix a mess. Julia followed behind, carrying a bag of Chinese takeout and a six-pack of beer. "Eat," she said, setting the food down. "You look like you haven't breathed in hours." Grant pulled me into a hug, solid, grounding. "We've got you," he murmured. I didn't cry. I didn't rant. I just opened my laptop, loaded the surveillance footage, and hit play. The audio was crystal clear. So clear it made Julia gasp when Preston's voice rang through the speakers, low and venomous, making threats like a mob boss in a courtroom drama. "Couple clicks to ruin your life. Mason, you got all of this recorded?" Grant asked, eyes locked on the screen. "Everything. Even the part where he smashed my phone." "Then this isn't just a civil matter anymore," Grant muttered. "This is blackmail, destruction of property, criminal intimidation. Hell, maybe conspiracy." But I wasn't done. I needed to make sure that no matter what Preston tried next, we were 2 steps ahead. "I've got more," I said, opening the hidden panel and showing them the DVR setup. "Feeds go to the cloud. Backup every 30 minutes. Motion-triggered alerts. Interior mics. All synced to my backup account." Julia whistled. "Okay, Batman." But Grant didn't joke. He leaned in, studying it. "You're going to need a forensic backup of all this. Metadata, timestamps, the whole 9 yards. If this ends up in court, we need airtight evidence." "Already working on it," I said, plugging in my portable drive. "But I think we need someone who really knows their tech." Preston said he might try to plant something on my system. "Then we bring in Riley," Grant said instantly. "She's done digital forensics on cases nastier than this. I'll call her now." Within the hour, Riley Trent arrived, a compact, confident woman with sharp eyes and a messenger bag full of gadgets. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. She sat at my desk, popped open my PC tower, and started talking like a surgeon examining an open body. "2 main attack points," she said. 1. He sneaks in, physically plants something on the hard drive, backdates it, hides it, makes it look like it's been there for months. 2. Remote access. Uploads the file from somewhere else using a spoofed IP and botnet tunneling. "Either way, we're locking this down." She handed me a sleek gray device. "This logs every inbound attempt on your network. If Preston tries to breach your Wi-Fi or access your files remotely, we'll catch it in real time." I nodded. "Do whatever you have to. Just make sure when he tries something, we nail him to the wall." As Riley worked, I felt something I hadn't felt since Dana stood at the top of those stairs: control. For the first time since this nightmare began, I wasn't reacting. I was anticipating, planning. When she was done, Riley looked at me with something close to admiration. "You're more prepared than most people I've worked with. That probably saved your ass." I didn't smile. "Not yet, but I'll feel better when the cuffs are on him." That night, we reviewed every second of footage. Grant logged timecodes. Riley exported encrypted backups. Julia set up a secure cloud drop in case anyone tried to wipe our data. But somewhere between the 5th beer and the 3rd replay of Preston's threats, the heaviness hit me again. Dana, my wife, my partner. She hadn't just cheated, she'd conspired. Let another man threaten me in my own home. She walked past me like I was no one, like I didn't matter. Grant saw it on my face and set his hand on my shoulder. "She made her choice, Mason. You're making yours. Don't mix the two." I nodded slowly, the pressure in my chest tightening, then easing. "She thinks she can come back Sunday, and everything will be the same. She's about to learn the hard way," Julia muttered. And that's when I made the decision. Dana could enjoy her little weekend fantasy with Preston. But come Monday, her world would look very different. The locks would be changed. The guest room cleared out. Divorce papers prepped. And everything she thought she had power over? Gone. Because now, I had the one thing neither of them expected. Evidence. And I was ready to use it. The house was quiet the next morning, but it wasn't peace. It was the kind of silence before a storm. I hadn't slept more than 2 hours, just enough to keep my body running. My mind, though, it was wired, sharp, and focused on the next move. Grant had already called Lauren Price, a no-nonsense family lawyer with a reputation for slicing through messy divorces like a surgeon. By 9 a.m., she called me directly. "I've heard enough from Grant to know you're ready to cut this clean," she said, voice brisk. "We'll draw the papers today. House is in your name. Business is solely yours. She can't touch either unless we let her. Do you want this to be fast and final?" "There's nothing left to save," I replied. "Good," she said. Then Monday morning, we serve her at her firm. No warning, no wiggle room. I hung up, heart pounding. It felt surreal, how quickly everything was moving now that I'd chosen to act. It wasn't about getting revenge anymore. This was about reclaiming what Dana had stripped from me, my pride, my peace, my dignity. As I moved around the house, cleaning and packing up the last remnants of her influence, my phone buzzed with a message from Grant. "Riley says the system's live. You'll get instant alerts if anything's tampered with. Keep your distance from the PC and don't use the Wi-Fi unless absolutely necessary." I texted back a simple, "Roger that." Riley's voice echoed in my mind from the night before. "If he tries to plant something on your machine, we'll catch him. But only if you leave it untouched." It was like prepping a trap and waiting for the mouse to crawl in. That entire weekend, I kept myself busy out back. Hammer, saw, nails, my therapy. There's something about crafting wood that grounds me. While Dana played house with Preston in some overpriced spa suite, I was rebuilding something far more valuable, myself. Sunday evening rolled in like a creeping shadow. I knew she'd be back soon. I had a decision to make. Would I be in the bedroom, pretending to be asleep when she arrived? Or would I confront her? I chose neither. Instead, I moved all her belongings into the guest room and installed a deadbolt on the master bedroom door. I locked it, pocketed the key, and sat in the living room with a beer and a book, the camera feed open on my phone just in case. At 6:58 p.m., I heard the growl of Preston's car outside. I didn't even look up. The front door opened with a gentle click, and Dana walked in like nothing had happened. Like the woman who abandoned me 48 hours ago wasn't the same one who stood there now with a smug little smile and flawless makeup. "Hey, sweetie," she chirped. "How was your weekend?" I didn't answer. She tilted her head, fake concern on her face. Something wrong. I turned a page in the book, not even glancing at her. All good. Her smile cracked for a second, then she dropped the act. "Oh, perfect. Keep moping. Preston said you'd pull this. You're so damn predictable. Always sulking, never taking responsibility. It's exhausting." I still didn't react. I wasn't giving her the emotional spike she was itching for. That's when her tone changed. Seconds later, she was stomping up the stairs. Then, "Mason Turner, did you seriously lock the bedroom door?" I didn't even flinch. "It's not our bedroom anymore," I called back. "Your stuff's in the guest room. That's your space now, until you find another place." "This is insane," she shrieked. "You're being childish. You think Preston's going to let this slide?" I closed my book and looked toward the staircase. "We didn't sign any deal, Dana. I don't owe you compliance. Crash in the guest room or take a hike. Maybe Preston's wife has a spare bunk." Silence. Then came the door slam, so hard it rattled the kitchen cabinets. I let out a long breath. My hands were steady, my voice had stayed level. For the first time in this whole mess, I had taken control. I went upstairs an hour later to check on the locks and to review the security feed, just to be sure she hadn't tampered with anything. She hadn't. She was in the guest room, probably texting Preston, planning the next manipulation. I didn't care, because the real trap, it was already set, and I had a feeling that before the week was done, Preston Maddox would walk right into it, unaware that every smug word, every arrogant move, was being recorded, and that the man he thought he crushed was quietly building the case that would bury him. Monday morning rolled in slow and cold. I was up before the sun, pacing the kitchen like a man waiting for an ambush he knew was coming. Coffee in hand, I double-checked the security system, motion sensors on, external camera feed stable, network tracking device Riley installed humming along. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Dana had left early. She didn't say goodbye, didn't slam any doors. Just disappeared. I watched her car pull out from the camera feed, her figure stiff behind the wheel, as if pretending she still owned some part of this house. She didn't. Not anymore. At exactly 10:15 a.m., Lauren texted me. Divorce papers served. Delivered directly to her at the office. Clean and professional. I expected a phone call. A barrage of angry texts. Maybe even a voicemail soaked in venom. But nothing came. Radio silence. And that's when my gut started to churn. I shot a message to Grant. She's too quiet. Something's up. He replied instantly. Stay sharp. Riley and I are monitoring everything from our end. The day dragged. I buried myself in the workshop, sanding down a new custom staircase job, trying to keep my mind busy while every second ticked like a countdown. At 3:12 p.m., my phone buzzed. Motion detected, office camera. I dropped the sander and grabbed my phone. The live feed came up, and there she was, Dana. But she wasn't alone. A tall, narrow-shouldered man I didn't recognize followed her in, a black laptop bag slung across his shoulder. They didn't hesitate, didn't check for anyone else, just marched straight to my office like they'd rehearsed it. I watched as he sat down at my computer, Dana standing beside him nervously. He pulled a flash drive from his pocket, plugged it into the port, and began typing. Fast, focused, efficient. It was clear this wasn't his first rodeo. My heart was pounding out of my chest, but I didn't panic. Because every second was being recorded. The guy didn't take long, maybe 4 minutes in total. Then he leaned back, exchanged a few words with Dana, and stood up. Dana was busy stuffing her clothes and personal items into trash bags. Guess her fancy luggage was still locked in the master bedroom, out of reach. They both left in a hurry. The moment the front door clicked shut, I was already dialing Grant. He picked up on the first ring. Talk to me. They were here. Dana brought someone. He planted something on the office computer. Got it all on camera? Crystal clear. Face, hands, USB drive, every second of it. Good, he said. That means it's game on. Riley and I are pulling the cloud back up now. We'll prep the files tonight. I'm guessing the cops will be knocking sometime soon. I swallowed hard. You think they'll really go through with it that fast? If Preston's behind this, and he's as arrogant as we both know he is, he'll want you in cuffs before sunset. Be ready. But remember, say nothing. I hung up and took a deep breath. I looked around the house, suddenly aware that this was the last peaceful moment I might have for a while. So I did what I always did in times of stress. I made a sandwich, turned on the TV, and waited. It was nearly dusk when I saw them. 2 patrol cars pulling up to my driveway. I set my sandwich down, stood up, took one final look at the living room, the place where it all started, and opened the door before they could even knock. Mr. Turner, one officer asked. That's me. You're under arrest for possession of illicit material. You have the right to remain silent. I didn't hear the rest. I'd been preparing for this moment for days. I offered no resistance. Didn't argue. I let them cuff me, read my rights, and lead me to the cruiser. They kept trying to bait me on the ride, questions about Dana, about my computer, about why someone might want to frame me. But I kept my mouth shut, just like Grant told me. I wasn't falling into the trap Preston had laid out. At the station, they took my wallet, phone, and tossed me into a holding cell. I waited. An hour passed. Then 2. Finally, the door opened. A man in a sharp charcoal suit stepped in. Late 30s, cool demeanor, eyes sharp as razors. He walked in like he owned the place. Mr. Turner, he said. Name's Thomas Ward. I'm your attorney. Grant and Lauren fill me in. We're going to handle this the right way. He slid a folder onto the table and flipped it open. Inside were photos, still images from the surveillance footage. Dana, the mystery man, the USB drive, every timestamp and angle perfectly logged. You've got the high ground, Thomas said, voice calm. Now we use it. I didn't say much, but inside, I felt something I hadn't felt since Dana first walked out that door. Hope. Because Preston thought he was untouchable, but he was about to learn that even kings fall when the right trap is set. Thomas Ward didn't waste time. The moment the interview room door shut behind us, he leaned forward, voice steady and deliberate. They've got nothing solid. No warrant before searching your home. No chain of custody for the evidence. And most importantly, Our footage trumps every accusation they're throwing at you. I stared at the printed screenshots on the table. The mystery man Dana brought in, his face captured from 2 angles. The exact moment he plugged in the flash drive. The timestamp clearly showing it happened after Dana received the divorce papers. What's next? I asked. We let them talk themselves into a corner, Thomas said. And when they do, we flip it. This is going to become a criminal case, but not against you. I nodded slowly, the weight of the day pressing down on my chest. My name, my reputation, my business. Preston had tried to burn it all down. But he forgot one thing. I wasn't standing alone. An officer knocked and escorted me back to the holding cell. I didn't know how long I sat there. Maybe 3 hours, maybe 4. No one spoke. No one even looked at me. Eventually, the door opened again. But this time, it wasn't a cop. It was him. Preston Maddox strutted in like he was closing a billion-dollar deal. That same smug smile glued to his face. Well, he said, sliding into the chair across from me. You finally seeing how deep this goes, Mason? You can't fight this. You're not in my league. I stared at him in silence, hands folded in front of me. He chuckled. Look, I'll make this easy. Admit you planted that crap on your own system. Say you did it to get back at Dana for leaving you. Tell them it was a cry for help. You'll get a slap on the wrist. Maybe a fine. Walk away with a record, sure, but not jail time. I leaned back, eyes locked on his. You done? I asked. He blinked, taken aback. Excuse me. I smiled. You came all the way down here just to talk to me? I must have really gotten under your skin. His grin twitched, faltered for a second. No, he said too quickly. I came because I knew you'd crack. You sure about that? His face reddened, just a little. This is over, Mason. Judges believe men like me, not woodworkers with a grudge. You're finished. I leaned forward now, slow and deliberate. You know what the best part about being underestimated is, Preston? He said nothing. You never see the hammer coming until it's already swung. The door opened again. A different man stepped in, tall, sharp-featured, sandy blonde hair, and a dark navy suit. He nodded toward Preston. That's enough, he said, his voice clipped. You're done here. Preston scoffed and stood, adjusting his cufflinks like it mattered. Enjoy your cell, Mason. I didn't respond. Just watched him walk out. His arrogance still filled the room long after he'd left. The man turned to me. Thomas sent me. Name's Bradley. I'm handling your bail hearing tomorrow. Judges got a reputation for cutting high figures, but we're prepared. Nathan's already arranging funds. Am I getting out? He nodded. You will. Might take until afternoon, but we'll have you out before sundown. But heads up, this isn't over. Dana and Preston are still moving pieces. We have to stay 10 steps ahead. Later that night, I lay on the rock-hard bunk in the cell, staring at the ceiling. My body ached, but my mind wouldn't stop running. Dana. She didn't just cheat. She conspired. She let that man walk into my home, twice now, and smiled while he crushed me. She'd made her choice, and I had made mine. By the next afternoon, I stood in court, shackled but proud. When the judge read out the charge, possession of illicit material, I answered with a firm, unwavering, not guilty. The judge set bail at $25,000. Didn't even blink. But within the hour, Nathan came through. He was already in the hallway, waiting with paperwork and a signed check. I walked out of that courtroom breathing free air again. Ankle monitor and restrictions in place, sure, but I was free. I hadn't lost. Not yet. Thomas and I hit a quiet diner near the courthouse. Over lukewarm coffee and a tired burger, he laid out the next steps. Riley's pulling metadata now. That USB device they used? Traced. You'll have every digital fingerprint ready for when this case flips. You hold the high ground. Don't let them bait you into slipping. I nodded. What about Dana? She's panicking, he said. Lauren got word from her attorney. Dana's open to a sit-down. Wants to resolve things peacefully. I snorted. She's scared. She knows what's coming. Exactly. And that fear is leverage. Keep your distance. Play it cool. We make the next move. I looked out the window of that diner, watching people walk by, unaware of the war I was in. Preston had money, influence, friends in high places. But me? I had truth, evidence, and the righteous fury of a man who'd been betrayed. They thought they could bury me. But now, they were the ones about to be exposed. I didn't sleep much the first night back home. Even though I was out on bail, free from that cold cement cell, I felt like the war was still circling just outside my front door. Every sound made me tense. Every buzz of my phone had me reaching instinctively for answers. Preston had tried to bury me under false charges, thinking I'd break. Dana had stood by and watched him do it, like I was just some piece of furniture to be removed. But they didn't know how hard I'd been working behind the scenes. And now, it was their turn to sweat. At 7:15 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was a message from Riley. We've confirmed the flash drive they used. Pulled the full file tree. Timestamped. Matched to your office surveillance. Footage plus metadata is airtight. We've got them. Underneath was an attached screenshot. A clear still of the mystery man's face. Dana standing behind him as he plugged the drive into my computer. Timestamped. Synced. Undeniable. I sent it straight to Thomas and Grant. Tell me this is enough, I typed. Grant replied first. It's more than enough. Give it a few hours. The DA's office will crack once they see what we've got. Thomas followed up seconds later. Hold steady. We've already filed the motion. Preston's storm is about to hit a brick wall. By midday, it happened. I was at the shop, running a palm sander over a stair rail when the call came in. Thomas's voice was practically vibrating with adrenaline. They dropped the charges, he said. All of them. Completely vacated. The detective leading the case reviewed the evidence and told the DA point blank. This was a setup. I stopped what I was doing, dust still clinging to my arms, and just stood there. Free. I was free. But it wasn't over. Because this was never just about getting myself cleared. It was about making sure Preston Maddox and Dana Blake paid for what they did, what they tried to do. They're filing criminal charges against Preston, Thomas added. Blackmail, destruction of evidence, tampering with digital records. Dana too. Conspiracy and obstruction. The DA wants blood now that they see how badly they were played. For a moment, I just let that settle in. All those nights wondering if I'd go to prison for something I didn't do gone. All those looks from cops and lawyers like I was guilty before I even spoke, washed away. Now it was their turn to face the spotlight. That evening, I got a call from Lauren. Dana's lawyer reached out again. She wants to settle immediately. She'll sign whatever terms we give her, no negotiation. But she's asking for one thing. What is it? I asked. A 1-hour sit-down. In person. She says she needs to talk to you face to face. My jaw clenched. The thought of seeing her again, after everything, sent a slow burn through my chest. She's scared, Mason, Lauren said softly. And she's unraveling. I didn't answer right away. I stared out the workshop window at the yard I'd built with my own hands. The garden bed Dana never watered. The patio we'd once planned to expand for kids we never had. All right, I said. Let's rip off the bandage. We set the meeting for the next afternoon in Lauren's office. I arrived early. Lauren met me at the door, firm but cautious. She's shaken, she warned. I don't know what she wants to say, but don't let her draw you in. I nodded. I won't. When Dana walked in, I barely recognized her. The woman who once walked with sharp heels and sharper words looked small now, hollowed out. Her eyes were rimmed in red, her voice a whisper of what it used to be. Thank you for coming, she said quietly, sitting across from me. I didn't speak. I messed everything up, she continued, voice cracking. I know that. And I'm not asking for forgiveness. I didn't see what Preston really was until it was too late. I raised an eyebrow. It wasn't too late when you let him walk into my house. Or when you helped him plant evidence. Or when you stood by and watched me get arrested. She nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. I know. And I deserve whatever's coming. I already quit my job. I left Preston. I've got nothing left. I stayed silent. Not out of hatred, but because I had nothing more to say. I'll sign the papers, she said. No fight. No demands. But I needed to say it, to your face. I'm sorry, Mason. I stood. Then we're done here. Dana didn't stop me. And that was the last time I saw her. Weeks later, she cut a deal, testified against Preston in exchange for reduced charges. She moved out of state. Out of my life. Preston, on the other hand, wasn't so lucky. Because the courts don't take kindly to wealthy men who weaponize their privilege. The headlines hit fast. Blackmail, planted evidence, corruption investigations tied to his firm. The fall was steep. And it was just beginning. They say karma always comes back around. But I don't think it ever expected to hit Preston Maddox as hard as it did. 3 months after Dana vanished from my life and her plea deal was finalized, Preston stood in a courtroom, no longer smug, no longer towering with ego. Just a man in a tailored suit that couldn't hide the cracks spreading across his carefully crafted world. The evidence was overwhelming. Riley's data trail, the surveillance footage, Dana's testimony. 12 years in federal prison. No parole. The courtroom was silent when the sentence came down. Preston didn't look at me, didn't say a word. But I looked at him. I wanted him to know, this wasn't revenge. This was justice. He played the game like he was untouchable. And I showed him that even kings can bleed when they get too cocky. Once the sentence was handed down, I turned and walked away. But I wasn't done. With Lauren's help, I launched a civil lawsuit against Preston's firm for aiding in the cover-up, for turning a blind eye to his abuse of power. Depositions, court orders, media coverage, the whole damn thing exploded in the public eye. 6 months later, they settled out of court. $2 million. No trial. No admission of guilt. Just a fat check and a desperate plea to keep things quiet. I didn't keep it quiet. I made sure every man who'd ever been steamrolled by someone richer, louder, or more connected than them saw that it is possible to fight back and win. I gave a portion of the money to Grant and Lauren, though they both tried to refuse it. I wouldn't have made it through without them. I put the rest into my business. Turner Custom Staircases tripled in size. I brought on more hands, started mentoring apprentices, built a real team. Not just employees, family. Funny thing about betrayal, it doesn't just tear you down. It reveals the people still standing by your side when the dust settles. Then came something I never saw coming. It was at a backyard cookout at Grant and Julia's place. Just a normal Saturday. Burgers, music, beers in red cups. I was laughing with some of the crew when someone handed me a lemonade and said, "You've been avoiding this all night." I turned. Emma Trent, Riley's younger sister. Soft smile, sharp eyes, the kind of quiet confidence that makes a man listen before he speaks. "I haven't been avoiding you," I said, smirking. "I just figured someone like you wouldn't want to talk to a guy with my kind of baggage." She shrugged. "Maybe I like people who've already survived the worst." That was the beginning of something real. Something slow, steady, and honest. Emma didn't ask for explanations. She didn't tiptoe around what I'd been through. She just let me breathe again. And that was enough. A few weeks after our first date, I visited Preston in prison. Not for closure. Not even for satisfaction. I just wanted to look him in the eye one last time. The guard escorted him in. He looked thinner, older, bitter. Orange jumpsuit. Wrists chained to his waist. "What the hell do you want, Turner?" he spat. I grinned. "Nothing. Just thought I'd remind you of how badly you lost." He lunged forward, eyes wild, but the guards pulled him back fast. "By the way," I said casually, standing to leave, "your ex-wife Diana? She and I had a nice conversation. She's doing just fine." Said thanks for the reminder of what not to look for in a man. He roared, but I was already walking out. No parting words. No need. I didn't look back, because I wasn't that man anymore. The man who let people walk on him, who kept quiet to keep peace, who gave and gave until there was nothing left. No, I burned that version of me to the ground right alongside the lies Dana and Preston built. Now, I wake up each day with clear eyes, steady hands, and no shadows in my home. I shape wood with care. I lead a team I trust. I come home to someone who meets me with kindness, not conditions. Some scars never fade, but I wear mine like armor now. They remind me that even when the world turns on you, even when you're dragged through the dirt by the very people you loved most, you can get back up. You can build again. And this time, you build smarter, stronger, wiser, because you know exactly what it feels like to lose everything. And you'll never let anyone take it from you again. Looking back, if there's one thing this storm taught me, it's that silence in the face of betrayal is not strength, it's surrender. I used to think loyalty meant standing firm, even when things cracked around me. But I learned the hard way that true loyalty begins with yourself. Dana's betrayal wasn't just about infidelity. It was about manipulation, control, and the quiet erosion of trust. And Preston? He was a reminder that power without integrity always collapses. For those of us in the later chapters of life, it's easy to believe starting over isn't worth the effort. But I'm here to tell you it is. You're never too old to protect your peace, demand respect, and reclaim what's yours. Whether it's walking away from a toxic relationship, standing up against injustice, or simply choosing to value your worth, you owe that to yourself. Life doesn't stop teaching, and we shouldn't stop learning. In the end, it wasn't rage or revenge that set me free. it was clarity. And now, with the dust settled and the lies behind me, I can say this with certainty. It's never too late to choose dignity over comfort.